On a brisk morning in Belleville, Ontario on November 10, 2024, Nasir Abbas adjusted the shelves of his small pharmacy, Abbas Family Pharmacy, the faint hum of a fluorescent light blending with the clink of pill bottles. At 48, Nasir, a Pakistani Canadian, was a lean man with wire-rimmed glasses and a measured voice that hid the strain of his daily routine. Belleville, a city of 50,000 along the Bay of Quinte, was a quaint mix of red brick storefronts, leafy suburbs, and industrial edges. Nasir had moved here 8 years ago with his wife, Farida, 45, a part-time accountant, and their 2 children, Mariam, 18, and Bilal, 15, chasing a quieter life after Ottawa's grind. But the town's warmth came with a chill, one Nasir felt as a brown-skinned Muslim in a mostly white community. Abbas Family Pharmacy, a compact shop on Front Street, was Nasir's dream, its shelves stocked with medications, vitamins, and a small section of halal snacks. The pharmacy, with its clean white counter and framed health posters, was a family effort. Farida managed finances, Mariam helped with inventory after school, and Bilal ran errands. But prejudice lingered like a fog in the aisles. Customers like Ron Carver, a white retiree, often questioned Nasir's expertise, asking, "You sure this dose is right?" despite his decade of experience. Local suppliers like Greg Thornton at Quinte Medical Supply prioritized other pharmacies, leaving Nasir's orders delayed. Last month, a patron, a white woman in her 50s, had bypassed Nasir to ask a white cashier, Emily, for advice, muttering, "I want someone who knows." Nasir smiled through it, needing the business. But each slight was a knot, tightening. Today, as Nasir filled a prescription, Ron walked in, his plaid jacket rustling. "Nasir, this cough syrup didn't work," he said, tossing a bottle on the counter. "You check your stock, right?" Nasir's jaw clenched. He'd sourced it directly from a trusted distributor. "It's standard, Ron. I can swap it or refund." Ron's eyes narrowed. "Better be legit. I don't like off-brand stuff." The word off-brand was a jab, a code Nasir knew, Pakistani Muslim, not trustworthy. He refunded Ron, who left without a word, the transaction a quiet wound. At lunch, Nasir ate roti Farida had packed, alone in the back office. His friend, Malik, a Somali-Canadian barber across the street, texted, "Ron hassling you again?" Nasir replied, "Same old." "You?" Malik's response was grim. "Customer asked if I'm legal yesterday," smiled it off. Nasir sighed, their shared weight heavy. Farida faced it too. Clients at her accounting gig avoiding her, citing communication issues despite her flawless English. Mariam at school had mentioned a classmate, Ethan, ignoring her in group projects, whispering outsider. Bilal overheard Ethan's towelhead jab at soccer. Nasir taught them pride, but the knots were spreading. That afternoon, Nasir met with the Belleville Business Association, hoping to join their network for better supplier deals. The meeting, held at a local cafe, was led by Karen Ellis, a white realtor in her 50s. Nasir pitched his pharmacy's reliability, but Karen's smile was thin. "We're selective," she said, her tone clipped. "Our members prefer established businesses." The word established was a wall, and Nasir saw it in their glances. Ron was there, nodding to Karen, others avoiding his eyes. He left, rejected, the association's closed circle a silent barrier. At home, a modest house on Bridge Street, Nasir cooked biryani while Mariam studied. Farida, balancing her ledger, spoke softly. "The bank delayed our loan again," she said. "Said we're high risk." Nasir's heart sank. The pharmacy's expansion depended on it, and high risk was a code he knew, tied to their surname. Bilal admitted Ethan had excluded him from a soccer team, the coach citing team chemistry. Mariam said her teacher overlooked her raised hand, favoring Ethan. "It's like we're invisible," she whispered. Syra, braiding Kiana's hair, spoke softly. "We need cameras, Des, like Aisha's library." Desmond agreed, but dread crept in. Cameras cost money, and the garage's profits were thin, stretched by rent, Kiana's school fees, Marla's salon supplies. On November 11th, the exclusion deepened. Nasir arrived at the pharmacy to find a major supplier, Thornton, had canceled a contract, citing logistical priorities. He called, but Thornton was curt, redirecting stock to a white-owned pharmacy. At school, Mariam was left out of a class project, Ethan's group claiming she wouldn't fit. Bilal's soccer coach benched him, Ethan's smirk clear. Farida's accounting lost a client who emailed, "We prefer local expertise." "It's a pattern," Farida said, her voice breaking. "Ron, Karen, Thornton, Ethan's dad, they're shutting us out." That night, Nasir and Farida sat in their living room, their ledgers and emails open. "It's not overt," Nasir said, his voice low. "No notes, no paint, just doors closing." Farida's eyes hardened. We fight back, Imran. We network ourselves, prove we belong. Nasir nodded, his resolve firm but fear lingering. They were Pakistani Canadians, their pharmacy a beacon. But Belleville's shadows were cold, and their fight was just beginning. On November 12, 2024, Nasir Abbas stood in the back office of Abbas Family Pharmacy in Belleville, Ontario, reviewing a spreadsheet of delayed supplier orders, the hum of the air conditioner a faint drone against the weight in his chest. At 48, Nasir, a Pakistani Canadian, felt the sting of the past week. A rejected bid to join the Belleville Business Association, supplier Greg Thornton's contract cancellation, and customers like Ron Carver questioning his expertise with coded jabs. Belleville's crisp air carried a quiet venom, one that excluded his family, wife Farida, 45, daughter Mariam, 18, and son Bilal, 15, from the town's fabric, threatening their pharmacy and their place in the city of 50,000. Farida, testing a new inventory app on her tablet, looked up, her accountant's eyes sharp despite the strain. "We'll find other suppliers, Nasir," she said, her voice steady. "Malik's friend in Trenton might help." Nasir nodded, his throat tight. Them, Ron, association leader Karen Ellis, Greg, and their network, weren't leaving notes or breaking windows, but their barriers were just as real. The pharmacy's shelves were thinning, customers dwindling, and Mariam and Bilal's school struggles mirrored their own. Proving bias was like grasping smoke, but Nasir knew they had to fight quietly for their family's dream. The pharmacy was emptier now, the exclusion's shadow lingering. Regulars came, but some, like Mrs. Thompson, hadn't returned, citing better options at a white-owned chain. At noon, Mariam arrived from school, restocking vitamins. "Dad, the science club rejected my application," she said, her voice low. "Ethan said I wouldn't mesh." Nasir's stomach sank. Ethan's mesh was a jab at her Pakistani roots. "You're brilliant, Mariam," he said, his voice firm, but his hands shook as he sorted prescriptions. Mariam's eyes dimmed. "It's Ethan's dad, isn't it? He's with Ron." Nasir nodded, the pattern clear. Ron's customer distrust, Greg's delays, Karen's gatekeeping, Ethan at Mariam's school, a web of silent rejection. That afternoon, Nasir called Malik's contact, Hassan, a Pakistani-Canadian supplier in Trenton, who promised a trial order. "Heard about Thornton," Hassan said, his tone grim. "They did it to me too." Nasir's hope flickered, but Greg's latest delay, vitamins held up for inspection, cost $500 in lost sales. At school, Bilal was benched at soccer, the coach citing team fit, Ethan's smirk evident. Farida's accounting lost another client who emailed, "We need someone more aligned with our values." A local cafe run by Karen's friend refused Farida's flyers, claiming no space. "They're boxing us out," Farida said, her voice trembling. "Every door's closing." On November 13th, the exclusion sharpened. Nasir met a potential client, a local clinic needing bulk supplies. But the manager, tied to Karen, chose a chain pharmacy, citing reliability. Nasir's pitch, competitive prices, same-day delivery, was ignored. The manager's glance at his name tag, a silent dismissal. At home, Mariam faced a group project rejection, Ethan's group claiming language barriers, despite her fluent English. Bilal's soccer teammates excluded him from a post-game hangout, Ethan whispering outsider. Farida's loan application, critical for the pharmacy's survival, was flagged for further review, the bank citing unstable revenue. "It's deliberate," Nasir said, his voice low. "Ron, Karen, Ethan's dad, they're choking us." That evening, Nasir and Farida hosted Malik and Hassan at their house on Bridge Street, a makeshift meeting to forge their own network. Over chai, they planned. Hassan's supplies, Malik's customer referrals, Farida's outreach to immigrant businesses in Trenton. "We build our own circle," Farida said, her eyes fierce. But the effort was a gamble. Belleville's market favored established players, and Karen's association held sway. Nasir's friend, Miss Patel, an Indian-Canadian nurse, texted, "Karen's spreading word your pharmacy's unreliable. Fight back, Nasir." Nasir saved the message, his resolve hardening, but fear lingered. Each step forward risked deeper isolation. On November 14th, the pressure deepened. A major insurer, influenced by Ron's contacts, dropped Abbas Family Pharmacy from its preferred list, citing customer feedback, costing $2,000 in weekly revenue. At school, Mariam's teacher overlooked her for a debate team spot. Ethan chosen instead. Bilal's coach cut his playtime, Ethan's team fit excuse unchallenged. Farida's accounting faced a tax audit tied to Karen's network. "They're erasing us," Farida whispered, her voice breaking. Nasir took her hand, his voice steady. "We're not invisible. We fight for Mariam, Bilal, the pharmacy." They were Pakistani Canadians, their roots deep, but Belleville's walls were high, and their fight was only intensifying. On November 15, 2024, Nasir Abbas stood at the counter of Abbas Family Pharmacy in Belleville, Ontario, his hands steady as he filled a prescription, though his mind churned with the weight of the past week. At 48, Nasir, a Pakistani Canadian, felt the suffocating grip of exclusion. A rejected bid to join the Belleville Business Association, supplier Greg Thornton's canceled contract, and an insurer dropping his pharmacy from its preferred list, all cloaked in coded language, reliability, local fit. Belleville's frosty streets hid a silent venom, isolating his family, wife Farida, 45, daughter Mariam, 18, and son Bilal, 15, from the town's networks, threatening their pharmacy and their place in this city of 50,000. Farida, reviewing invoices in the back office, looked up, her accountant's resolve unbroken. "Hassan's shipment arrives tomorrow," she said, referencing their new Pakistani-Canadian supplier from Trenton. "Malik's referrals are bringing customers." Nasir nodded, his throat tight. Their makeshift network, Hassan's supplies, Malik's word of mouth, Farida's outreach to immigrant businesses was a lifeline, but the town's barriers were relentless. Ron Carver's customer jabs, Karen Ellis's association gatekeeping, and school slights against Mariam and Bilal formed a web of rejection, subtle but crushing. Nasir knew they had to push harder, quietly, to prove they belonged. The pharmacy was a ghost town, the exclusion's chill driving customers away. Regulars like Mrs. Evans now shopped at a chain, citing convenience, a polite mask for bias. At noon, Mariam arrived, organizing pill bottles. "Dad, the debate team picked Ethan over me," she said, her voice low. "Teacher said I'm too reserved." Nasir's gut twisted. Mariam's eloquence was ignored. Ethan's reserved a jab at her Pakistani heritage. "You're a star, Mariam," he said, his voice firm, but his hands shook as he labeled a vial. Mariam's eyes dulled. "It's Ethan's dad, isn't it? He's with Karen." Nasir nodded, the pattern stark. Ron's distrust, Greg's delays, Karen's influence, Ethan at Mariam's school. A silent wall closing them out. That afternoon, Nasir visited a local hospital, pitching a supply contract to replace Thornton's lost deal. The manager, a friend of Karen's, listened politely, but declined, citing existing partnerships. Nasir's offer, lower costs, faster delivery, was dismissed, the manager's glance at his surname a quiet rebuff. At home, Farida faced a new blow. A second client dropped her accounting, emailing, "We need someone more familiar with local practices." Bilal was cut from a soccer tournament, the coach claiming skill gaps. Ethan's grin clear. Mariam's science project was graded lower than Ethan's identical work, her teacher citing clarity issues. "They're burying us," Farida said, her voice trembling. Every step's blocked. On November 16th, Nasir and Farida met with Hassan and Malik at a Trenton cafe, expanding their network. They planned a joint promotion, discounts, flyers, a website linking their businesses. Hassan shared contacts with a Mississauga supplier. Malik promised to pitch Nasir's pharmacy to his clients. "We're stronger together," Farida said, her eyes fierce. But the effort hit a wall. A local printer, tied to Karen, refused their flyer order, citing scheduling conflicts. A Belleville newspaper influenced by Ron's contacts declined their ad, claiming no space. Miss Patel, the Indian-Canadian nurse, texted, "Karen's calling your pharmacy untrustworthy. Push back, Nasir." Nasir saved the message, his anger a slow burn, but fear gnawed. Each move forward deepened their isolation. On November 17th, the barriers tightened. A major clinic, swayed by Karen's network, chose a chain pharmacy over Nasir's, costing $3,000 in potential revenue. The bank, citing risk concerns, rejected Farida's loan appeal, threatening the pharmacy's expansion. At school, Mariam was excluded from a mentorship program. Ethan selected instead, the teacher claiming leadership fit. Bilal's soccer teammates ignored him at practice, Ethan's foreigner whisper unchecked. Farida's accounting faced a compliance review, tied to Karen's ally at City Hall. "They're suffocating us," Nasir said, his voice low. No notes, no paint, just silence. That evening, Nasir and Farida sat with Mariam and Bilal in their Bridge Street kitchen, chai steaming. "We're not invisible," Nasir said, his voice steady. "We confront this, quietly, together." Mariam, her eyes fierce, suggested a social media campaign to highlight the pharmacy's service. Bilal offered to flyer immigrant neighborhoods. Farida proposed a meeting with a local diversity advocate, Miss Patel's contact. The plan was a risk. Belleville's power rested with Karen's circle, and defiance could cost more. But Nasir's resolve hardened, his family's strength a spark. They were Pakistani Canadians, their roots deep, but Belleville's gates were locked, and their fight was reaching a breaking point. On November 18, 2024, Nasir Abbas stood behind the counter of Abbas Family Pharmacy in Belleville, Ontario, his hands steady as he counted tablets, though his heart pounded with the weight of the past weeks. At 48, Nasir, a Pakistani Canadian, was a fortress against an unyielding tide of racism. A rejected bid to join the Belleville Business Association, supplier Greg Thornton's canceled contract, an insurer's exclusion, and a bank's loan denial, all cloaked in coded terms. Reliability, local fit, risk. Belleville's icy streets hid a venom that isolated his family. Wife Farida, 45, daughter Mariam, 18, and son Bilal, 15, from the town's networks, threatening their pharmacy and their place in this city of 50,000. The pharmacy's shelves were sparse, the exclusion's grip tightening. Farida, reconciling accounts, glanced up, her eyes fierce. Hassan's shipment doubled our stock, she said, nodding to their Pakistani-Canadian supplier from Trenton. Malik's referrals brought 10 new clients. Nasir exhaled, his resolve bolstered. Their network, Hassan's supplies, Malik's word of mouth, Farida's outreach to immigrant businesses was a lifeline, but the town's barriers were relentless. Ron Carver's customer distrust, Karen Ellis's association gatekeeping, and Mariam and Bilal's school slights formed a silent cage. Nasir knew they had to break through quietly for their family's dream. Culmination. On November 19th, the crisis peaked. Nasir arrived to find a local health board, swayed by Karen's ally, had flagged the pharmacy for a compliance audit, citing customer concerns, threatening a $5,000 fine. Farida's accounting faced a second tax review, tied to Frank Harper, a City Hall insider. At school, Mariam was denied a scholarship. Ethan chosen despite her higher grades, the panel citing community alignment. Bilal was dropped from the soccer team, the coach claiming attitude. Ethan's smirk clear. A major clinic influenced by Ron canceled a trial order, costing $4,000 in revenue. Aisha, braiding Kiana's hair, spoke softly. "We need cameras, Des. Like Aisha's library." Desmond agreed, but dread crept in. Cameras cost money, and the garage's profits were thin, stretched by rent, Kiana's school fees, Marla's salon supplies. "They've cornered us," Farida sobbed, her voice breaking. "We're ghosts here." Imran, Sarah, Aisha, and Zain sat with Malik and Miss Patel in their kitchen, chai steaming. "We're not invisible," Imran said, his voice steady. "We confront this, quietly, together." Aisha, her eyes fierce, suggested a social media campaign to highlight the pharmacy's service. Zain offered to flyer immigrant neighborhoods. Saira proposed a meeting with a local diversity advocate, Miss Patel's contact. The plan was a risk. Belleville's power rested with Karen's circle, and defiance could cost more. But Imran's resolve hardened, his family's strength a spark. They were Pakistani Canadians, their roots deep, but Belleville's gates were locked, and their fight was reaching a breaking point. On November 20th, Nasir, Farida, Mariam, and Bilal launched their counteroffensive. Mariam's social media campaign, photos of the pharmacy's service, testimonials from Miss Patel's patients, went viral locally, gaining 2,000 views in a day. Bilal flyered Trenton's immigrant shops, bringing a dozen new customers. Farida met Miss Chen, a Chinese-Canadian diversity advocate who connected them to a Toronto supplier, bypassing Thornton. Nasir confronted Karen at a Chamber of Commerce event, his voice calm but firm. "Your association excludes us," he said, citing Hassan's contract and Malik's referrals. "We're here, and we're staying." Karen's smile faltered, her allies shifting uncomfortably, Ron silent in the crowd. The tide turned. On November 21st, the health board dropped the audit, citing insufficient evidence, Ms. Chen's advocacy tipping the scale. A clinic, swayed by Mariam's campaign, signed a $6,000 contract. The bank approved Farida's loan, a new officer overriding the risk flag. At school, Mariam's teacher reinstated her debate team spot, Ethan's slot cut, the principal citing fairness. Bilal's coach restored his playtime, Ethan benched. Farida's accounting gained 3 clients, Miss Patel's network spreading. Ron, avoiding the pharmacy, muttered no jabs, his influence waning. Karen's association invited Nasir to reapply, a reluctant nod to his defiance. That night, Nasir stood in Abbas family pharmacy, the shelves full, Farida, Mariam, and Bilal beside him. Mariam's photo, a family behind the counter, a star above, hung on the wall. The rejections, the slights, the silence, they'd scarred them, but so had Farida's grit, Mariam's voice, Bilal's hustle, Patel's warmth. They'd fought in the shadows, no crowds, no noise, and carved their place. Nasir touched the counter, its wood a heartbeat, and whispered, "This is our fight, our home. Share it, carry it, let it burn through every silence." He saw others, families like his, unseen but fierce, holding their story, passing it like a torch to light every corner, a flame no prejudice could dim.